no big surprises in day two. Kind of the usual frontline guys continue to go on, and you see your young guys struggle, new guys struggle in general, which is very normal as you had another day of install and they start to get tired. So no real big stories today. It was just kind of normal day two.
Are you concerned about George Farmer's ability to stay healthy? And obviously he has to be healthy to play.
Yeah, it is what it is. He hasn't been able to do it yet since he's been here, unfortunately. So it's not of his fault. It's hard to develop guys. It's hard to figure out how they can help you when they don't stay healthy very long.
What did you think of all your tailbacks tonight? What you got to see of them?
I think pretty much similar to yesterday. I think that all four look good. I think DJ Morgan looks improved, and I think DJ Morgan, has really handled it really well. I thought it's kind of easy on Curtis. I mean, you just have another guy there, and Curtis is returning 1,000-yard rusher. So, I think DJ, I'm sure, hears from a lot of people that he's the odd man out, which is not the case. And so it's good to see the way he's responded. And I think you guys that have been here before, I think Buck Allen looks a lot different than he did in the spring for sure, which I think is probably a common theme with second-year players. And I think there's a lot of second-year players that as we go in there, now that they've had a full year, they look a lot different than they did in the spring.
Seemed like Robert did a little bit more, a lot more actually today.
Yeah, not a lot. Just really about 15 more minutes than yesterday, so we'll just keep pushing them.
You're mentioning the second-year players who look a lot different. Usually we don't talk about kickers in this regard, but Andre Hidari really seems to have transformed his body. Was that something that you wanted him to do, or did he take that upon himself?
Yeah, I think that once again happens a lot with second-year players. Andre Walker, another example. Andre Hidari, another example. So it's really good to see because it helps him, and you can see how strong he is. He looks completely different body-wise, and we were taking for granted how good he is, really, for such a young kicker.
You made reference yesterday to the left tackle flashing, but also being offsides, and we weren't totally sure who you were talking about. You were talking about Leonard Williams. Is that right?
No, offensive left tackle.
You were talking about
Andre,
offensive left tackle?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Andre had a lot of false starts yesterday.
Okay.
Not as many today. He had one run through, and then after he had that one, we said that the whole team was going to run if he had another one, and he didn't. So that was good to see. But he does. He does flash. Guy that's 300 pounds and runs and moves like that. But there's a lot more to just moving. You got to be very consistent, especially at that spot.
Any updates on any of the guys that were academic stuff you were waiting for?
Same status, and I wouldn't think you'd get an update until after summer school grades are posted.
When are summer school grades posted?
They're in different classes, so I think anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks.
I know you have two returning tight ends who played a lot last year, but Junior Hame seems to be a little different sort of athlete. Is he a guy that you want to find a place for?
Yeah, we definitely do. Yeah, Junior has a tremendous upside. Another second-year player that looks a lot different, but he missed so much time that he's kind of a semester behind some of the other guys. So I think at some point he's going to be really good, whether that's next month, whether that's 3 years from now. I don't know that. It's going to be up to Junior.
But Christian Thomas, do you have an idea kind of where he's going to end up?
Well, yeah, he's going to be a tight end that can really run. Kind of like George, what was brought up earlier. We have not seen a lot of him due to injuries over the 2 years.
Did you comment on Soma Benuku's progression?
Yep, another example of the same thing. Second-year guy really has developed. Looks a lot better than he did in the spring. So I think a lot of the excitement isn't necessarily the frontline guys that we all know about. I think there's a lot of excitement about continuing to develop these younger guys now that they're coming into their second and third years in the program.
What does he bring to the playbook? He's kind of a fullback we haven't seen for a couple of years at least.
You're right. He's bigger than the guys that we've had, and he's faster. He's actually faster than most of our tailbacks. So at 240-some pounds, he's a very special athlete, and he's still young. So I think at some point he's going to be really good. I don't know when that is.
Coach, in the past you talked about defensive tackle being a concern. Moving to buy out to end, does that mean the concern is more end now than tackle?
It's both. There's a lot of concern. There's two defensive linemen, and George and Wes playing at a really high level right now, and the rest of it just flashes. So there's not much experience. So it's going to be wide open. That's going to be a very important story over the next couple weeks.
Is it easier to learn the three technique position than defensive end, just because you switched Williams from when you recruited him inside and then moved to back outside?
It depends on the system. We play right and left defensive end, so it'd probably be a little easier to play in. But Leonard's getting so big, he's just kind of growing into the spot. Three technique, you have to play both sides.
Sorry if this has already been asked, and it sounds like it has to a certain extent, but George, is there a point where you'd be worried about him and his health and how long he's on the field for?
Yeah, that was the first question. And yeah, with anybody, if they're not out here, it's hard to figure out how they fit in. We've seen some great flashes when he's been healthy. Unfortunately, that hasn't been that often. And it's not his fault. He's trained very hard.
Who did you vote number one in the coaches poll?
Can't discuss that.
Rich Rodriguez said he voted USC number one.
I would not vote USC number one, I can tell you that.
Why did you decide to participate in it?
They randomly select you, and they had selected me before, but they canceled it out because we're on probation, so they didn't let us vote.
So that was one of the positive side effects of being
Yes,
on
it was.
probation.
I'm glad it's not public every week, so Scott would question me. The last one was public, though.